Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on how banks and credit unions can deepen relationships with investment property owners. Your hosts today are Nathan Baumeister, the CEO at ZSuite Technologies, and John Wallace, Chief Sales Officer at Digital Onboarding. Today, we're going to talk about how ZSuite helps customers automate and digitize the collection of rent and condo dues, how your institution can help them collect and manage security deposits and facilitate compliance. And John's going to talk to you about how we can help with campaigns that will help you motivate property owners to hold rent and security deposit payments at your institution. A little bit about our partnership at Digital Onboarding with ZSuite Technologies. As I mentioned, ZSuite helps provide property management solutions to help banks and credit unions compete and grow. And at Digital Onboarding, we also serve financial institutions that are very interested in deepening relationships with business owners. And so we provide pre-built campaigns that help to drive the adoption and usage of ZSuite products. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nathan, who's going to tell you a little bit about ZSuite.
Great. Thank you very much, Lori. Always excited to be able to talk to financial institutions across the United States about what we're doing here at ZSuite. As Lori had mentioned, our focus within our products is to help banks and credit unions attract, retain, and grow relationships with these residential real estate clients. And they typically fall into one of three categories. You have property owners, oftentimes also referred to as landlords, the people who actually own the properties that are being rented or whatnot. You have property managers. These are the people that are actually managing those properties from a day-to-day basis. Sometimes the landlord is the property manager. Sometimes a property manager will work with a bunch of landlords. Either way, they both make great clients for financial institutions. Then you do have homeowners associations as well as they're collecting dues. And then within the product suite that we have, there are a couple other applications that we can kind of talk about and share a little bit. Other things that have rent or something akin to rent due on a monthly basis. We have some folks with storage units, parking garages. We even have some horse stalls, those types of things. So that's kind of the and more section there. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Yep. And so as you look at the opportunity that exists with property managers and landlords, it's important to kind of break it up and think about the different segments or targets that exist in there, because they have different needs, and also different financial institutions are going to have a likelihood of building relationships perhaps with these different segments. So you have four segments. You have the mom and pops, sometimes also referred to as DIY landlords. They're kind of doing it as a side hustle. And then you have your businesses. And from the businesses, you have small business, medium businesses, and large businesses. The important thing to note is that the bulk of the individuals actually doing it are sitting within the mom and pop industry. Across the United States, there's about 10 to 11 million of those folks, versus on the business side, there's about 1 to 2 million. And 75% of rental properties are owned by the mom and pops, whereas 25% are owned by the businesses. However, if you look at it, the units, only 45% of the units or doors, if you will, are with the mom and pops, 55% in the businesses. And of course, that makes sense. Someone who's just doing it as a side hustle doesn't own an apartment complex that might have hundreds or maybe even 1,000 units. They're typically going to just have a single unit resident, maybe a duplex or a triple decker or something like that. So when you're looking across the space of the opportunity, a lot of your retail consumers that you work with are actually hidden property managers and landlords. That's important to remember. And then of course you do have within the commercial side of your business, or if you're not in commercial yet, but you're looking to move into it, you are going to find property managers and landlords are a great place to step into, because a lot of their lending needs, a lot of the things that they have are tied to and have similar needs that a lot of your consumer residential needs have as well. So lots of times there's a little bit of knowledge that you can transfer there. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So when we look at this from a problem specifically, or what's the problem statement that the ZSuite products can help landlords and property managers solve? Well, the first one is rent. It's super, super cumbersome and slow and unreliable in the ways that most folks are collecting rent. And when I say most folks, this is very much tied towards the mom and pop type landlords and property managers. Did you know that 80% of rent is still paid by cash, check, or cashier's check? This isn't good for the tenants. This isn't good for the landlords or property managers. This isn't good for the financial institution. There's a better way to do it. So figuring out how to digitize that and to get more automated recurring scheduled payments is a great way to be able to help landlords, property managers, and tenants be able to make this rent collection a much easier problem. And of course, this was compounded with COVID as well. More and more people are trying to collect rent from a distance and not want to go and have that human interaction, either with depositing checks in the branch or picking them up from the occupants themselves. So that's one side of the problem that our products work with. The other side of the problem is on the security deposit side. Now, to break this down a little bit, security deposits, this is, of course, when someone's going to rent a property. Lots of times the landlord or property manager will collect a security deposit as well as last month's rent, something that they hold until someone moves out, and basically it's used to be able to pay for any damages or whatnot. When you look across the United States, there's a little bit of inconsistency, but there's about 25% of the states have amazingly restrictive laws on exactly what landlords have to do with security deposits. If you are in one of those states, you probably are aware of some of these laws, but it has to deal with, you have to give a receipt within the first 30 days of exactly which institution the security deposit is being held at. They have to be interest bearing. That interest has to get paid out to the tenant on an annual basis, which means then you need to get W-9s when you open up these particular things. There's other paperwork that needs to go out, particular statements, all of that stuff. Then another 25% of the states, they don't have as restrictive laws as what we just went through, but there definitely are some laws there. And then the other 25%, the other 50% of the states do have some laws. You need to do things like if you're going to withhold any security deposit, you need to make sure there's an itemized reduction. But by and large, the problem across all 50 states is, first, the landlord is holding money for somebody else. And they should be using the best practices in regards to transparency to be able to make sure that the tenants who they're holding that money for, they know where the money's being held, they can see it, and they're being communicated with if anything is being withheld. So that's across all 50 states. However, in the ones with the strict laws and the moderate laws, there's a lot more paperwork and manual effort that goes into this. In fact, I was just talking to a landlord just the other day in one of these states, and he was telling me how many hours each week he spends trying to fund these accounts, open these accounts, get W-9 forms, send out paperwork, pay those annual interest checks. It's a big problem, especially in those states. So now let's flip it around. So why do financial institutions care about these problems, and how is it that it can help you grow? Well, the first part is, I'll just make a really broad statement. Landlords and property managers make great clients for you. They just absolutely do. The first part, they have a lot of deposits, and most of it's pretty low cost. So on average, what we found, and this depends on the market that you're in, right? So that's why you see the fluctuation. The average landlord that would choose to bank with a community financial institution keeps deposits of 50 to 100,000. Now, that's not just security deposits. That also includes their operating account, as well as they have other depository needs that come up where they need to park some funds here and there in some money markets and CDs. But that, for one client, that's a good amount of deposits that you could get from there. So that's the first side of the coin. The second side of the coin, though, is, and we all know this, landlords are always going to have lending needs. And again, you can think about this in your particular region of the country. Just think about a single family unit home. If that's an investment property, think of what the average lending opportunity would be there, just if you got one, right? And so property managers and landlords, whether it's refinancing, opening up a line of credit, purchasing their next investment property, whatever it might be, they always have these lending needs that you can get by deepening this relationship and attracting them to actually use you as their primary financial institution. So let's talk about the products themselves. So we started with the problems for the landlords and property managers. We talked about the opportunities that exist to be able to help drive growth and success at your financial institution. But how are we actually doing this? What are the products? Well, the first one is called ZRent. ZRent is a very simple product. It's a mobily responsive web app that is co-branded for your financial institution that then you offer to property managers and landlords to do one specific thing: automate the collection of rent through an electronic method. So it automates rent, it's all digital, they can access it wherever they need to. And here's the key: it's free for them to use as long as they're depositing the rent they're collecting into an operating account at your institution, right? So that's that offering. ZDeposit. ZDeposit is the first of its kind digital solution to fully automate and digitize the management of tenant security deposit accounts. So they can open, they can fund, all of those notifications that we talked about, all of this stuff, it's all done online and it's all done digitally where they can self-serve. Built into ZDeposit is state level compliance workflows. So we facilitate the compliance with any state where that property is being opened up. So our system is smart enough when they put in, hey, this property is in this state, we'll pick up that state and we'll take them through the workflows to facilitate the compliance for that particular state, solving huge headaches and really decreasing the liability that exists with taking on these tenant security deposit accounts. So where are we at? Kind of, who is ZSuite? Who do we work with? Well, you can see here, we have been offering our products starting all the way back in 2015. They're actually developed within a bank. And so it was just about a year ago in August 2019 that we spun out from that bank, and now we're on our own separate company. And from there, we've already gotten a great list of banks and credit unions who work with us. You can see kind of the list here across, from coast to coast and in the middle, from California to Montana to Illinois to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey. You can see the different clients that we work with, and we're really grateful for these folks that have partnered with us, and we look forward to continuing to grow the network of our partner financial institutions to help them attract, retain, and expand those relationships with those property managers and landlords. Now, what type of success can you see? Well, I'll go with Leader Bank here. So this is a $1.9 billion bank in Arlington, Massachusetts. They've been offering these products for quite some time now. From this institution alone, they have over 1,000 landlord property managers and HOAs using ZRent and ZDeposit. Across that base, they have over 60 million in deposits that are associated with these particular users. That was the main reason that they wanted to offer these products, was to be able to grow their depository base without having to grow any of their infrastructure. And so as they've been able to attract and retain and expand these relationships with these property managers, landlords, and HOAs, they haven't had to make any additional investment in a branch network or staff. And in fact, for servicing these particular clients, we were able to get their related non-interest expense decreased by 50%. And if you talk to the folks over at Leader Bank, they can tell you how much of a game changer it's been. You can see Mark Rombos, their SVP of Business Banking and Government, talking a little bit about here. And it's specifically tied to once they start using ZRent and ZDeposit, which is great because that'll get you some deposits, but they come to us first for any of their other needs. You really become their primary financial institution. And it's funny because it's actually on the commercial side as well as the residential side. We have plenty of ZDeposit and ZRent users they're like, oh, well, it's time to, buy my first home, or it's time that I, change over my checking account relationship. Lots of times they'll end up going to the bank or credit union they're using ZRent ZDeposit with. So when we look at technology, we talked about kind of the technology aspect of this. One of the things that we've realized by working with financial institutions is that, just giving you technology and saying, good luck, have fun, isn't really setting you up for success. So we do make sure to wrap all of our technology fully with these enablement services. So we're set up to handle all tier 1 level support, both for the landlords as well as the tenants. They can call us, they can email us. We have web chats that are available. We can answer any questions that they have. With you all, we fully support everything that we do from a transactional perspective. So we do all the transaction processing, building out the ACH files, dealing with non-returned or returned items, non-posted items, ID verification, tax reporting on the 1099 INTs, statements, all of that stuff. And not only that, we work hand in hand with our institutions to be able to make sure that you have marketing support, that your staff's trained, that we're talking on a continuous basis, making sure that everything's set up to get you the most success that you possibly can. So in essence, when we talk about a partnership, the reason that we talk about a partnership is because we don't just give you technology, but our team sits right next to your team and making sure that it's a success. So one of the big questions that we always get, and I think this is true for any fintech company that works with banks and credit unions, is, look, I have a lot of stuff going on right now. I have too many projects to count, actually. And so I'm happy to share a little bit more about launching ZSuite and how easy it is. It typically takes us 30 to 60 days. It's a very, very quick process to be able to get launched. We take on the effort and the complexity on our end to get everything done. And with a typical institution going through launch on your end, you're probably talking about an investment of about 4 to 6 hours. Core integration isn't needed, it's not necessary. And then based off of our partnership with digital onboarding, a lot of the heavy work on setting up marketing campaigns to make sure that you are a success is ready-made as well. And so with that, I'm going to switch the time over to John to share a little bit more about that side of the coin in how digital onboarding can help any of our clients that sign up to offer ZRent and ZDeposit to make sure that you're getting the word out there.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nathan. There were some really great points of information there. I'm sure all of our attendees were kind of surprised to find out about the whole property management piece. So thank you very much for that. And we've talked, we're really excited about our partnership. We just had our virtual customer forum on Monday, and there were a lot of questions about how digital onboarding can help them build engagement with businesses. So it's perfect timing to talk about this partnership. And as you mentioned about us being able to help your customers bring these to their customers pretty quickly. We have these pre-built campaigns that are ready to deliver to those customers as soon as we get started with this. So Lori, if you can give me control, I'll just sort of show you the emails that I just received from my bank, my FI bank. 1 second. So this is one of the emails that I just received from my FI that's talking about those security deposits accounts. So you can see this can be fully customized with the FI's logo in there, colors, fonts, whatever you would like to put in there. The information is already loaded into it. And then we have a simple call to action button that takes them out to the landing page. It should pop up here any second. That allows them to apply for this deposit account that you have. So that's one of them. And then for each one of these, if they happen to not actually submit this at this point, we can have multiple emails and text messages set up for this so that we can send out reminders, because life happens. They may want to sign up for this, but they forget to do this. So we can have a cadence of email reminders sent out to them so that they do sign up for these types of products. So the next one. Here's the rent collection email that we have currently built up for it. Again, all of this is fully customizable for each one of the FIs, for their logo to be in there. The content can already be put in here in a simple call to action that will take them out to the landing page for them. And again, all of those messages will be built, set up, ready to go, so that if they do happen to forget to do something, we're going to nudge them along through the process. And then if they do happen to sign up for this, those messages will stop. So you don't have to keep reminding them to do that once they've done that. So that's it for as far as the email piece. Let me just share my screen here a little bit more. Any questions from anybody?
Yes, we do have a few questions from the audience. And so this first one is for Nathan. What kind of payment methods does ZSuite support?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. So I'll kind of answer it in two different ways, because the ZRent and ZDeposit platforms are slightly different. So with ZRent, we exclusively use the ACH payment network. And so with that, like I said, ZSuite, our company takes care of all the building of the ACH files and stuff like that. The tenants have to go in and link an account, either through micro deposits, or we also can use Plaid to do some instant verification, but that's all ACH. On the ZDeposit side, in order to fund the security deposit, we can either do ACH or check. So in that case, we can actually do either one. At that point, the landlord or property manager is the one that's responsible for funding it. So they either have the check already from the tenant, and so they can do a mobile remote deposit capture just by taking a picture of that within the system itself, or they can fund it through ACH. The landlord can through a bank account that they own, or they could even write a check off of one of their own bank accounts that they own as well. So those are the different payment methods currently within ZRent and ZDeposit.
Fabulous. Last question is from an institution that wants to know if they want the ZSuite products and they also want the campaigns. Who do they contact, and is that two separate contracts?
Yeah, so if there's someone who at this point isn't working with digital onboarding or ZSuite technologies, and we're going through this and you're saying, Mal, I really want ZRent, ZDeposit, and would also love to use the pre-built campaigns that digital onboarding has, yeah, so you would end up contacting both of us. So we would work through the process to get you signed up on both systems. And the main reason that we have it set up is to simplify the process. Your different compliance departments and your due diligence process for the ZRent and ZDeposit product is going to be different than for a digital marketing platform that digital onboarding has. And so instead of trying to combine it into one, we have it as two separate things. Now, if you're already working with ZSuite technologies, obviously you don't need to do anything else to be able to get those products up and running, because you already have them, and vice versa on digital onboarding. Then you just need to deal with us.
Fabulous. Well, I just want to thank you, Nathan and John, and thanks to all of our attendees. If you've got any follow-up questions or you want to reach out directly, you can see Nathan and John's contact info on this screen, and you'll also receive a recording of today's presentation. So thank you very much for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful day.